Welcome! Today I will report an encounter with creatures of the astral plane in an out-of-body experience. The last videos were reports of other out-of-body experiences highlighting some other particularities. Check out these other videos if you are interested. Now, I will talk about the particularity that is the encounter with creatures or entities in the astral plane. This report serves as an example of how it is possible to call for help. It is also an interesting case study to question whether they are really autonomous entities or whether they were some unconscious projections of myself. I went through the whole process, the wobbling sensations, vibrations, sounds, and so forth. Although these phases come as being always linked, they are always slightly different each time. This time, the vibrations, I felt them all over my body. The sounds passed me by almost unnoticed. I also felt a lot of heat in my abdomen. But before this, I was dreaming that I was trying to astral project, and then I woke up slightly and felt my body paralyzed. I resumed the attempt to separate myself from the physical body, without provoking physical effort so as not to wake up from this lethargic state. I just made that special mental effort. It is clearly evident that there is some kind of energetic muscles, so to speak, or intention or whatever we might call it. Only the pure will to command the action without the intermedium of physical muscles. At one point, I was rotating on a horizontal axis and I felt my legs go through the bed. I felt the density of its structure. Then I thought it would be best to transfer the axis of rotation to the feet, to increase the momentum and break the rubber bands around me, or the magnetic pull of my astral body to the physical body. I imagined my hands as if they were jet thrusters. Several times I managed to stand upright and float. Whenever I had just left, I immediately felt an attraction to return to the physical body, and thus I realized I was again in my physical body. Not wanting to give up, I tried without delay to separate myself one more time, again and again. This night it was particularly easy for me to try to leave the physical body, because I didn't panic as usual. I was so persistent that I managed to fly to the opposite corner of my room, the farthest point from my physical body. I couldn't see anything until I was far enough away to not feel the influence of the physical body on my out-of-body perception. At one point I had my back to the closet and was floating in the corner of the bedroom ceiling, and I was looking straight ahead towards the opposite wall. That wall looked brighter than usual when in the waking state, but something interesting happened that I never noticed before. I noticed that I had a spherical vision. It's hard to explain, but basically my peripheral vision went 360 degrees in all directions. In this vision I was able to focus more clearly on certain regions, as we naturally do with the optics of physical eyes. I could look back without turning around. I then asked for help because I didn't gather enough courage to pass the walls. In the meantime, I lost my astral vision. But besides this, I started to hear some very strange sounds and felt the presence of beings. The sound I heard is similar to people talking at the same time in a fast and disordered way. Although most of the time by now I couldn't see anything as I was wandering around the whole room, even approaching my body lying on the bed, which now had no influence on pulling me. Despite flying blindly around the room now, I always had the volumetric notion of space and therefore had the perception of all the nooks and crannies and reliefs. So by this time, two entities approached me. I know that they did not have a humanoid body. The most similar way to describe these two beings would be to say that they were basketballs with bad wings. I could feel their volumes in the room where I was floating around as they were. I was reminded of what I'd read in books before, about asking for help. And that's what I did, one more time. I needed help getting out of the room. For some reason, I think I was too afraid to do it, or I simply found it impossible due to the realism of the situation. I couldn't speak with my voice, no sound came out, but the message came out in the form of thoughts. Then the floating balls with wings flew to my hands, wrapping them inside their round bodies and pulling me across the room until I reached the wall that faces the outside, towards the street. They go through the wall. My hands and arms are already inside the wall, and soon enough I got afraid of bumping completely against the barrier. I panicked and immediately returned to the physical body, which shuddered and made me wake up physically. I think they wanted to take me far away from my physical body, so I gained more control over the out-of-body experience. I'm convinced of the idea that they want to take me out of the room to help me. After all, I did ask for help. At no time did I feel threatened or felt that they were malicious entities. I also didn't feel that they were divine or majestic beings. They appeared to me just to be of a neutral nature. This was my first out-of-body experience in which I came across astral beings. I think it is an interesting case study. As you may already know, the astral plane is considered to be composed of several subplanes of existence. Very basically, there is the real-time subplane, which is consonant with the physical plane. There's also the subplane of the practitioner's subjective subconscious, that is, the imagination of the person, of the subject. And there is the subplane, which is the mixture of the first two. It serves as an intermediate space or intermediate existential region. Now, I think this experience is interesting as a case study because I was left with certain doubts as to whether these entities are really autonomous beings in their existence or if not. The truth is that I yearned for help and help ended up appearing. But there is also the argument that my struggle to get out of the room may have given off a sign of distress, and therefore autonomous spirits, autonomous in their existence, they came to my aid. That could be a possibility, but I'm not certain of this. What is certain is that these creatures did not seem to have any connection with me, nor was there any conscious effort on my part to control them. For all intents and purposes, those beings have always seemed to me to be autonomous. This also opens up a whole philosophical discussion of solipsism, even about our everyday physical and consensual reality. But that discussion will have to be left for another video, because there is a lot to scrutinize on this topic alone, the topic of solipsism. This is a short video, but I hope this story was exciting. If you liked the video, hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Be well.